the weekend. Sit back, relax, we got the brain of band. No need to stress in the house, it's Van Bellen. The game is windsurfing, you can't yell them or tell them. We get the news, the views, the win biz. The brand's gear tips plus the world's best quiz. Cogs, PWA, we're professionals without the pay. There's nothing in pole dancing that we won't chat. From tandem boards to a windsurfing cat. It's your one-stop shop for a laugh and listen. Tune in each week or you'll be doing the missing.
Oh, I didn't bring my Santa outfit. That's what I was going to do. Damn.
Christmas is over.
I know, but I had a great Santa outfit. Damn, I was going to do that.
Merry Christmas, Benny.
I just want to apologize. I've been a bit slack over Christmas. Okay, obviously, welcome to the podcast again. We're a bit late this week. We weren't going to do one. But then with all the news that's going on in the windsurfing world right now, we thought we'd just come on. And again, we're going to try and do a quick one. Let's see. We're going to keep it under an hour. That's what we're hearing. Under an hour.
I think.
I'm hoping it's going to be a lot shorter, but let's see. Just so you know, Windsurfing TV over Christmas period, we've got a little baby now, and Christmas has been no worky. So last year I did a lot of videos, and they didn't get many views over Christmas. So I thought, what's the point in blogging my balls off to get all these videos out and no one's watching them over Christmas? It makes sense. So we're going to be coming back in the new year. How have you had a nice Christmas over there in Australia?
It was all very peaceful. It was 30 degrees, a bit different to if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. We have warm Christmases here, and I had a nice chill day. It was just chill. There was no wind. We've actually had, I don't know what's happening out there in the weather, but tell me in the comments if it's the weather's going weird wherever you are. But the last month in Geraldton has been pretty bad for wind. So that's been a bit of a shame, but it is coming back, I think, in the next few days.
I can say,
what's it been like for you?
Portugal, the wind this year has been shit. You know, we've had days. We've had spells, we've had little sequences, and it's been good. The surf's been amazing, but the wind hasn't been great. I won't lie. And I think we're going to come on to that in a minute, because obviously the big news that was put on Facebook, Instagram, and all over that social media, the Mortefons, both of them, Pierre Mortefon and Marino Mortefon, have both left Duotone. Reading the comments from them on social media, it does look like it wasn't that they found a new brand and they've moved on. It sounded like another Marc Paré kind of, that's it. We need to find some money and you're going to move on. We're obviously going to touch on that. But is this problem with the industry, we're seeing it in lots of other, but is it like accelerated by the lack of wind? Have we had a lack of wind this year? I mean, I think in Northern Europe right now, they've had a very windy Christmas, but let's not think about right this second, just the year in a whole. Has it been a good windsurfing year for you guys watching right now? I'd love to know. And like I said, speaking to Paul, doesn't sound like Australia's had a good season.
Well, it actually depends where you are here. Down south, Esperance, Margaret River, it has been blowing its tits off. Excuse my language, but up here, it's super weird. I don't know. They predicted over on the East Coast it was going to be a dry and hot summer. Well, they've just come through floods again. So I don't know. It's all over the place.
So interesting fact. My first year in Geraldton, when I first went to Australia, there was floods, big floods on the East Coast. And it was a terrible season on the West Coast. I say on the West Coast, terrible season for the Northern West Coast. So Geraldton and up. But Esperance, when Geraldton and up doesn't work, the wind is really good in Esperance. So I'm guessing that's a similar season to what you've got now.
Yeah. Alessio saying it's been, said it's shit. So did Leonard in Greece.
Oh, Leonard Neubauer as well. Yeah, Leonard Neubauer, same in Greece. Yeah, okay. So that's kind of East Coast. Oz has been pumping. There we go. So when somewhere isn't good, usually it means somewhere else is probably having their best season ever. So it sounds like the East Coast of Oz might have been the way to where to be. What is it this year? El Nino, La Nina? What are we on? El Nino, is it?
I get confused. I don't even know what it is half the time anymore, because whatever it says it's going to be, it's something different. So I don't even know. But Maui's been awesome, hasn't it?
I don't know.
Well, it's definitely been good for swell. I've seen that, but I don't know about the wind. But anyone listening from Maui?
Light winds in Tarifa. I mean, like in Portugal, I look forward to the Levante wind, which is in Tarifa. It's super strong port tack, and we get some good conditions up in Portugal when it blows down there. And no joke, it's probably been, we had a little session recently, but apart from that, it's been like 2 years, it feels like, since the last good run of Levantes. Yeah, there's been one every so often, but usually that kind of winter period, Europe winter period, either sides of it, you get these strong Levantes, and we've really had none. So I'm guessing Tarifa, they really haven't had many strong Levantes. It's been some strange forecasting. Seems quite okay in France, we're hearing from Eric.
Bit of a mixed bag all over the world. It's a bit hidden.
Ontario, Canada, Great Lakes. Wind this year has not been great. Weird direction, mostly northeast. Never really a full day of wind. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and so obviously we heard the news today that Pierre Mortefon is the next person to go of Duotone.
Well, and Marion, like
and Marion, his sister.
I mean, that is a crazy one. I didn't see that coming. I'd heard rumors, but before I'd heard the rumors, which I'd already heard, to be honest, when we did the Marc Paré podcast. But, you know, you don't want to say anything until it's officially out there. But yeah, again, I didn't see it coming. How many people saw that coming? He's been with them a long time. Okay, he didn't win a world title this year, but, you know, he had some good rounds. And I think he's going to come in stronger. I mean, I don't know, you seeing this? I'm just making sure I've got.
Yeah. I can read it out for anybody listening on Spotify, although that's all in French.
Hang on, yeah, I'll put the English version on. How about that? That might help you.
I want to attempt French, but
I think it's going to
come out pretty bad.
Yeah, that's the Pierre one. That's in English.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so here, Pierre Mortefon, he's saying, what to say? I'm only just beginning to realize I've blossomed, grown, exploded, and won with you. It's good translation. Thank you for the good years we've had. All those races, victories, that title, the only one in the racing history of the group, with those of Marion. Good luck for the next one. 14 years swept away at the end of this year, so late, without warning, without soul. A few days ago, I read, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It's true. I turn around slowly. I still have to settle 2/3 of the points, but believe me, I'll be ready. Bye-bye, Duotone.
So that's obviously a Google Translate, I'm guessing, like an Instagram Google Translate or whatever. It's a translation from his in French. In French, maybe it reads a bit different, but just picking out the points there, it sounds like he didn't see it coming. You would say that, reading that. He's obviously not got his new sponsors fully sorted, although I have heard brand names mentioned. Again, I don't know if I should mention them now because they're just rumors from other sources, which could be good, could be bad. But it sounds like he hasn't quite put the final signings on the papers for all his material next year. But it will be interesting, you know, as much as, you know, I'm not going to dig into this too much. Obviously, Duotone needed to find money. We covered it in the last podcast. If you haven't heard the one with Marc Paré, I suggest you listen to that because we covered a lot of the points that we could cover today. So we're not going to bang on about them. But obviously, Duotone marketing needed to find money. And the easiest way, as we said in the last podcast, is to get rid of big names. You get rid of massive chunks of money. And Marion Mortefon, Pierre Mortefon, with their exposure bonuses, with their kit, with their salaries, plus Marc Paré, they are going to save a lot of money. Will it change people's buying interests? You know, we did a kind of a quick survey in the last podcast with the listeners, with the comments, and it was interesting because there was a lot of people saying, you know, riders don't influence their buying. And not to say I don't agree with that, but I think sometimes you don't realize what the riders are doing to influence your buying because it's almost subconscious sometimes. You're seeing these guys at the top of the fleet, they're keeping that name up there, they're doing these things. And then when you go to buy it, you might not necessarily, you know, equate that to the buying pressure. But I definitely think it helps, you know, build the brand's image depending on what riders you've got, especially with racing. If you're not winning races, then the rider in a racing it's not really doing their job. You know, you've got to win, I would imagine, in racing. Maybe anyone racing can watch me, but if let's say a new brand come up tomorrow, you've never heard of them, they have the stupidest name in the world, and they had bright pink sails, but they were winning races by a leg, you don't think you'd be buying them? You know, like racing is all about results. Although, you know, with the foiling disciplines, a lot of stuff going on now.
How much with racing, Benny? Because I don't race, but if you had to split it up between the sails, boards, and fins as to the importance of a race win, could you make a call? Like, you know, would it be?
I mean, obviously, I am not, and I all cards on the table. I am obviously not a high-end PWA racer, and I think it makes a difference where you are, and with wave sailing as well. You know, those little details and stuff can make differences to different people. You would say at the moment, I mean, the foil obviously makes a massive difference. The foil, if you're foil racing, the foil is in the water the whole time. If that thing isn't performing, you're going to be in trouble.
It's done.
I would say the board, yes, it makes a difference, but it doesn't make the biggest difference in foil racing. Yes, it obviously makes a difference. Does it make the biggest difference? And people, obviously, board manufacturer might say, oh, shut up, because it makes, and I'm not saying it doesn't make a difference. It makes a difference. But if you had the choice between, let's say, the market leading foil and the market leading board and vice versa, I think you would go for the foil being the, you know, it's quite apparent that in all sorts of racing, although the board has to be good. And then the sails makes a huge difference, You know, the way that sail loads up, how it feels, how it rotates in the jibe. There's lots of things. So I think all the kit makes a difference. That's, you know, to be the top of the top, you need everything lined up.
So is it Benny, when you're at a PWA race, does it become common knowledge between the sailors that there may be a sail, for example, because we're talking about duotone here, that is considerably better than another brand? Like, you know, does a sailor go, well, so-and-so is on that Neil Pride or, you know, the Challenger sail or something, and they go, that sail is actually better than the one I'm using. Like, is there any of that sort of talk, or does everyone just think they're on? Yeah, okay, so that's pretty.
I think 100% there is that talk, but it's not necessarily, oh, that sail is better than that, although it can be. But there is talk that sail suits that type of style, that sail suits that type of rider. You know, it is a little bit more like that. And you know, certain sizes, you know, it doesn't really get talked about, but there can be in a range. Sometimes you get a certain sweet size. So the 7/8 or the 8/4 or the 6/2, you know, whatever it is. So say Pierre might have a really like perfect setup for his small stuff or his medium stuff. I'm just not saying this is true, but I'm just saying as an example. So when he's on this gear and it's the win for exactly that gear, he just kills everyone because his setup is just absolutely singing. Everything is talking to each other. Everything is working. It fits him. It fits the conditions. And again, some gear goes well in flat. Some gear goes well. Some riders go well or in swell. And so there is lots going on. It's not as simple as that's bad, that's good, that's it, I'm set. You do have to match it for the rider, match it for the conditions, and you also have to be all tuned in. So there is a lot going on in racing right now. A lot.
Yeah. Okay.
And they're finding out new things all the time. You know, this is why a lot of the guys are training together. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens, I think, this winter. You know, Tenerife is a well-known training spot where Matteo Iachino, Maciej Rakowski, Jordi Vonk, you know, Enrico Marotti, there's Maciej Rakowski, you know, all these guys train together. And I've always looked at that and thought, it's amazing. But there is a big but. When you are all challenging for the podiums, it pushes you up, but you also get these psychological advantages over the winter, which will help you. Because when you're racing, when you're an up-and-coming racer, you need to know you can beat these guys. And as soon as you realize you can beat them, that psychological edge is gone. And I don't know, are we going to see less of the top guys training together or in smaller chunks? You know, what's Pierre Mortefon going to do? He's going to go to Tenerife, going to set up his own. Johan So, obviously, there's been a bit of a falling out between him and a few of the other boys because of the talk or whatever's going on. Is he going to go to Tenerife? Is he going to, if he trains on his own this winter or with a few others, he is going to be coming into the first event as an unknown quantity. If he goes to Tenerife and trains with these guys, they will have an idea of what's going on. And me personally, if I'm an up-and-coming sailor, if I'm a Johan So, I might try and find a way to train at the highest level away from the top guys, because then you come into this first event and it's like, whoa. But it could work both ways. You might be off the pace if you haven't trained with them. But if you come in fully dialed, fully tuned, and they don't know what's coming, it also gives lots more. I think, like I said, with all these exits, with all these people, like Marion as well, you know, where's she going to go? It's going to be an exciting year for the, you know, if you're not invested in these sailors, if you don't know them, if you're just watching from an outside perspective and you want to see top racing, crazy stuff going on and drama and stories, it's setting up for a very exciting year, like probably more interesting than ever before. You know, people moving sponsors. Yes, it's bad. They've got to find money. They've got to find this and that. But these guys are the top guys in the world. They will find other sponsors. They will find ways to make it happen. You know, their drive is not just to make a living from windsurfing. Their drive is to win a world title. You know, that's their drive. They're not trying to be journey people who just love the idea of doing the whole tour. They're there to win titles. So this, for me, you know, with the Johan So story, with the Mortefon now leaving Duotone, with other stuff happening, you know, there is rumors of other riders changing. Maybe I shouldn't. I'm not going to say any rumors. I'm going to wait for them to be concrete. But there is other rumors of big riders leaving other brands. Some, well, we see. We're gonna see. I'm like I said, from an outside perspective, looking in, from a neutral perspective, it's pretty exciting where they're going to go, who they're going to end up with, how it's going to play out.
But how does it work, Benny? So if you've got a rider and they've you know, they're a free agent, they can go anywhere. And say, for example, they say, if I had my choice, I'd want to be on the Neil Pride sale because that's the sale that I think that I've got the best chance of winning a championship on. How does it work? Do they usually go to the sale brand that they like the best first, see if there's an opportunity, and if they get knocked back there, then go for their second preference, third? Or are they just normally going for whoever is willing to give them a sponsorship? Because you know, if you wanted to win a championship, you obviously want to be on the best gear, true, as well, right? So how does that work?
So it's an interesting one because there is different ways of approaching it. So there has been, you know, let's say you've got a family, you've got a mortgage to pay, you've got all, you know, lots of stuff, you've got no backup, you're relying solely on your windsurfing sponsorship. And this is the very difficult point now. Let's say you got offered quite a lot of money to go with a brand who maybe is not notorious for the best gear. It's a big risk because yes, you get the paycheck now. But let's say that gear isn't working for you. Let's say I have heard, I'm not mentioning any names, of riders that have gone to a brand for the money and they haven't even tested the equipment. That to me is insane. That is insane. And usually they've been picked up because they're doing well. So they're obviously tuned into the gear they're on. And then they move because they're offered money to another brand without testing. That's crazy. Usually, if you're going to go to another brand, you would always test the gear, make sure you're happy with it. There is another way of doing it, whereas a brand has got the money, but maybe the gear is not developed yet. And they might get you to develop the gear. This is a tricky one because this can pay massively off. So you'd get the money to develop the gear, but you're going to have probably the first year is not going to be great, because it takes time to develop the gear. You're not just going to come in, develop new gear, smash in the front, but usually. So it's going to take at least a year, 2 years to get that gear up to speed, maybe a year. I don't know. I'm not a full PWA racer, so I can't say the time scale. But if you do get them to the top, then you're going to get paid out massively. You're going to get reputation to the developing gear, and you add more strings to your bow. If you're just a racer who gets results and you've got nothing to do development, then for me, you have to be on the best gear for you, and almost you're better to go on a lesser deal and get the gear that suits you the best or gives you the best potential, because that potential will see you get more money the next year if you prove it. If you go on for more money and gear that doesn't suit you or it's not working so well and you have a bad year, and then let's say that brand goes, well, you know what? You haven't done it this year. They get rid of you. Then where do you go? You've now got worse results. Okay, you weren't on the great gear, but you've got no bargaining power. So it is very difficult. There is stories from back in the day, like Ben van der Steen. I think he was struggling to get sponsored, didn't know. And I think he bought Neil Pride Sails at the time because they were renowned for the best. And then he did a year. I think he did pretty good. And then he went to Loft. I think that's the way around. Maybe I've got it wrong, but apologies if I have. But then he went to Loft and he developed the sail. And then he got a very good reputation for developing sails. Loft started doing well. And then Kestel was on Loft. He started doing well. Ludo was on Loft. And then Loft got this reputation like, wow. And it went from Loft not being a talked about brand to this is the best brand. The guys were, you know, and they had that perfect mix in racing. And for me, there is a perfect mix. You have a guy that's killing it at the top. And then you have two guys who are not renowned for top 10s, top 5 finishes, suddenly pop up into the top 10. You know, I would say Patrick have kind of done that this year, you know, with Michelle Becker. You know, he has done a massive job for them marketing wise because people, you know, people in the scene will have known Michelle Becker before. But a lot of people from the outside say, who is this German guy? We've never heard of him. And now he's smashing in top 10s. He's got, you know, near the podiums, getting top 5 or something. And they're like, wow, it can't be him. Your brain goes, it must be the gear. You know, the gear is, and he changed gear. He went from, I think he went from Duotone actually to Patrick and his results. So for the brand, that is what you want. That's like the perfect scenario. You pay a guy who's not got a massive reputation. He goes on your gear and then starts performing. That is like the magic. That is like the dream. And if you can have that backed up with other riders, you know, for example, I think Cedric Board changed to Patrick Foils towards the end and his results got better. So instantly people are going, oh, the Patrick Foils amazing. You know, and that's the type of inside marketing which you cannot get with an advert, with an endorsement or whatever. Results speak massively within racing. So it will be really interesting because let's say Pierre, he didn't have a bad year. If you look at anyone else, if they'd have got his results this year, they'd probably been quite happy. But for Pierre Mortefon, he wants to be challenging for a world title. He wasn't this year for whatever reasons. You know, he had good moments, you know, some not so great moments. Maybe the gear wasn't working for him. Again, I don't know. If he changes gear now, which he is, and now let's say he's challenging for the world title. Let's say he wins a world title on whoever gear he goes with. People are going to go, oh, this gear is good. You know, it's massive. It's massive. So,
but in the PWA paddock, like say for example, Formula One, you know, we all kind of know that the Red Bull cars and you know are probably the best cars, and then you got Mercedes. You know, there's generally a pecking order. But when it comes to being on the beach at a PWA event, and you had to go around to all the sailors and say, what do you think's the best sail or board? Do you think most of them would end up with similar answers, or would it just be complete mix mash of answers? You know,
there'll be some. I think there would be some names that would come up. Like I say, for certain riders in certain conditions, you know, there is certain sweet sizes which people would go, okay, that's a pretty good size there. That's a pretty good, you know. But I think, like within slalom, I think it plateaued a bit. There was a lot of stuff that was going good because it'd been around for a long time. They'd everyone, you know, all top sailors had worked on stuff and it kind of gone, okay, all this stuff is pretty good now. And with foiling, we're seeing bigger differences because it's new. Things are changing. You know, maybe if you have a different foil, maybe you need a different sail. If you have, you know, and that's going to be, again, I can't speak from experience. So I don't want to say too much. It would be better to get someone in from that sort of who's going through all that to give you the sort of take. But it is more or less what I just said then. I think you would have some names that are up there that are kind of renowned for good low end sail, you know, in this 86 or this. But it does change around a little bit. And again, it changed on your tuning. You know, a lot of the time, a good sailor can tune a sail by changing bands, by changing mass, by, you know, tweaking certain things. But you've got to have a pretty good base. But the top guys will tweak it out, you know, and it's fine details. Your normal sailor like me, let's say, I probably wouldn't know how to do the exact fine details these racing guys are doing. And you only get that by racing. And sometimes the fastest sail on the course isn't necessarily the fastest sail around the course. So, you know, if you're testing, a lot of people just test the GPS and you might have the fastest sail out there, but that doesn't mean it's the good sail around the jibes. And if you do a slalom race, there's 4 jibes or whatever, sometimes 6 jibes when they do long course, but that can make a massive difference. So some of the older like slalom fin stuff, it was like a more tractory type sail, which had a lot of pull, a lot of power, because the jibes were massive, and the differences you could make up on the jibe and compared to how much you would lose on the speed didn't actually weigh up. And so again, it depends on the sail, it depends on the course, a lot more going on than just having the fastest sail, I think.
Okay. And I got Niels here's written interesting comments. You know, for development, it's hard to develop some good gear without some top riders. Who's going to give you feedback? So, you know, say with Duotone, you know, there's obviously well, in the males, I'll talk about the men. You got Mortefon, Jordi Vonk. Who was another top rider in Duotone slalom? Can you think of any?
Well, we can go down the list. It's probably the easiest way to do it, just to be fair to everyone.
Because the question I had was related to Neil's point. How important is it to have multiple riders when you sail developing? So, for example, if you just had one top rider, say, for example, it was a Jordi Vonk or somebody like that, is that enough?
Well, just to stop you, like, you got to remember Marco Lang, who is pretty much the brand manager, or, you know, I don't know what the official title is. Marco Lang used to race, like full top race. He's been right up there. I can't remember if he won Silt one year or he was leading it. But anyway, he raced at a top level. So yes, you do need top riders, but when you've got someone in place like that, I guess, who they trust to do the development, that must be their thinking. Again, the Mark Paré thing is a strange one for me, because he's definitely known for his development. I know he's been in Maui with Kai Hoff working a lot on the sails. So that was one of the bigger reasons that it surprised me when Mark went, actually, because he was primed for development. And that's not easy. It's not such, because you're a top sailor doesn't mean you're good at development. You know, there is a big difference there. Like, I'm just saying, top 10 in the slalom last year. So Matteo Iachino, we got to put, obviously he got disqualified in the last one, but, you know, he was up there, and they obviously tuned the sail. That's the reason he's got, you know, kicked out. Actually, where did he end up? I'm just looking. Where does Johan So end up in the end? He probably still ended up quite high up there. I can't even see him. Oh, there. So he ended up 23rd. So, you know, Johan So would have been up there. Amado Vrieswijk, you know, Severn. So you got Matteo Iachino, Severn starboard, Amado Vrieswijk, Future Fly, and Severn, Maciej Rakowski, Challenger, and FMX. Pierre Mortefon, obviously 4th. You know, not a bad year. Like, people are talking bad year. 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 9th, and 9th. I will say that 2nd in Lake Garda, all those guys who did well there or who'd come 9th, it was all came down to one race. Pretty much who finished where. Like, Marotti fell off after leading that. If he hadn't have fell off, which I know is a lot of ifs, but if he hadn't have fell off, he would have finished 2nd in that event. And he ended up finishing 9th, I think, 8th, which, you know, that just came down to one race. So the results, when you look at them like this, are not always as straightforward. You know, there can be small differences. Anyway, Michelle Becker, like, finished 5th this year. I mean, first year on Patrick Sails, Patrick Board, Patrick Foils. That is a massive advert for Patrick, I think, as a new person into that sail world and the foil world. I think it's pretty impressive. Bruno Martini, obviously JP Pride. Finished his top JP Pride rider, in fact. Enrico Marotti, 7th. Nico Preen. All the JP Neil Pride boys, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Alexander Kuzan, you know, Patrick, and Patrick. So 2 Patrick riders in the top 10. It's pretty impressive. Mattis on Taboo Gastra. Then you've got Jordi Vonk in 11th. Again, not his best year. So he'll be looking for about a year. Then William Hubert's on Phantom. Cedric Board, obviously Severn now. Patrick Falls. Scotty's, I'm just looking down. So it's wow. Yep. There isn't so many, you know, duotone riders. Jimmy Tiemi, 17th, you know, spent a lot of the time on the fin. So really, it's really up to Jordi Vonk.
Yeah. Oh, all the pressure. And Nigel Winkley has got a question here. When you say saves Duotone a lot of money, can you put a dollar number on that? You know, so when a brand lets go of a Marion Mortefon and Pierre Mortefon and, these sorts of caliber sailors. What's, can you take a stab at what sort of money a brand is saving?
It's very difficult to put a stab on it. Well, I mean, we kind of summed it up. Like, if you're a top rider, you've got a family to feed. Pierre Mortefon, I mean, it's really difficult for me to have a stab at it because with racing, obviously there's race incentives as well. And some brands, again, I don't know how Duotone works, but will put, you can sometimes choose your contract. Sometimes you would choose a contract. If you're confident you're going to be winning stuff, and there's enough races, then you might say, you know what? I want to go heavy on the bonuses and I'll take a smaller salary. And that can be classed as a risk or not a risk. I mean, it's always a risk because you never know what's going to happen in competitions. So the brand might go, you know what? We'd take that risk because if we get the result, if he gets the results that he wants, yes, we're going to pay him quite a lot of money or her a lot of money, but we'll have the results to maybe sell more gear. So it's kind of a win-win. It's always like, it's like media and exposure bonuses. I always used to get my money or try and get my money due that way because I knew if I worked hard, I put the effort in, I could get media exposure. It's a win-win. If I get loads of media exposure and stuff for the brand, they're happy because they're getting media exposure. They're only paying me for what I'm doing, but I could go higher than if they just give me a salary, small salary. And then what? You're less incentivized. So I used to quite like those photo incentives, media bonuses. And the same with the races. They sometimes like the racing bonuses. If they feel the gear's good, they're feeling good, it might go for that. I maybe heard Goya did that one year, took more if he won the world title, if he did this, he would get quite a good payout. But obviously you've got to deliver and there's no guarantees. It's windsurfing, conditions, different riders, you never know what's going to happen. So it's a ballsy move, but it can pay off. I did hear a story a long time ago that I think it was someone nearly bankrupt F2. Was it Josh Stone or Josh Angu? Or someone just smashed the exposure contract so much. Oh, what was the name? It was years ago I heard about it, but they had some exposure contract, but there was no cap on it. Usually there would be a cap at a higher amount. And okay, it's capped at 20 grand or 10 grand or 5 grand or 50 grand or whatever it is. And this someone who signed this exposure contract didn't cap it. So for a front cover, you'd get this much money for this page article. And they just blitzed.
Blew it out.
Everything.
Yeah, right.
And they had to do a settlement, or these were the rumors. I should have a bit,
right.
But it's quite interesting. I always remember thinking, "Wow, that's pretty cool."
It's good year for whoever that was.
Okay, so just going back to what you said before. So racers, you've got to imagine how much gear they have as well. If I think riders over the years have got used to saying, "Oh yeah, but it's just equipment." Equipment now costs serious money, and that is obviously massive anyway. Because people talk about, he's only on a kit deal where maybe you just get everything for free and there's no money. And you kind of think, that's a bad contract, or you used to, definitely. I think nowadays it's starting to be well, that's not so bad anymore, because everything is coming down. But these guys we're talking about, Marino Mortefon, Pierre Mortefon, they would have got a proper salary as well and bonuses. Mark as well. So it's going to be upward of 100 grand, isn't it, for all those guys together? That's what I can't put a price on it, but I would say upwards of 100 grand.
And so if it's say it's 100 grand is a number you're talking, how much return, like how much gear would a brand want to sell to make that worthwhile?
It's a good point. So in terms of percentages, what do you think? Again, these are not facts and figures. These are not. This is me just.
So it's not like, but I mean, you're sponsored by Simmer.
So how much do you reckon a brand makes on a kitman? Is it 30%? Would that be 20%? I don't know. So and they've got to sell quite a lot of gear.
But like for example, with Simmer, is that discussion ever talked about where they're just like, well, we'll sponsor you, but if we don't see sales,
100%. And I think it's becoming more apparent. And the riders, I personally think, again, this is going from my own personal. If I'm looking at my sponsors, which are Simmer at the moment, I'm looking like, okay, am I worth the money they're paying me or the gear they're giving me or whatever? How do I make myself more valuable? And there's different ways. If you're into development, then this is a massive help to a brand, and they would have to, it's not easy to find the people in the first place. So that's a massive benefit. Are you marketable? That's another benefit. And then do you sell gear? Like, this is the big one. It's pretty easy. If they think someone can sell gear and help them sell gear, you will be sponsored. It's not like they're not going, we're going to get rid of him because we don't like him. If that guy is selling them, or that girl is selling them 100 grand's worth of gear, or 300,000 worth of gear, or 1 million worth, I don't know. If you look at these numbers, that's how a brand will start to look at things. And again, this also goes for the local riders at the local beach. If you're a local kid and you trying to get sponsored, think like that. How can you make that brand or that importer or that shop's life easier? How can you give them content? Because that's obviously good for them. They help to market, or how can you sell them more gear? How can you influence the people at your local beach? Because when you're a local rider, you want to influence the people in your local beach. You want to tell them, you want to let them use your gear, you want to help them rig, you want to, all that sort of stuff people are looking at. And on a worldwide level, like a Pierre Mortefon level, his goal is to win shit. He goes fast, he wins stuff. People look at him and go, wow, that gear is absolutely performing to the best. That's going to help me go faster in my local races. I want to be sponsored by them. Or he can be doing other stuff alongside it, which could be clinics. I know Jordi Vonk does quite a lot of clinics now, and this can sometimes have a bigger influence than sometimes being okay in a race. If you're not winning and you're doing okay, people have different mindsets. And if this guy like Jordi Vonk, let's say he's been setting up people's gear, he's been helping them tune it. That guy who's going to buy the gear goes, you know what? If I buy Duotone gear, for example, then Jordi's going to be able to help me tune it. And I want to support him because he's doing a good job and he's helped me do this. And that can also be a way to sell gear. So there's lots of different ways, I think, which is interesting.
Yeah, and Max brings up a good point here. I hadn't actually thought about before, but when it comes to the photography or the marketing of the sales using the sailors, what happens there? Like for 2024 brochure, does it have a Pierre Mortefon in the brochure or
it'll all be in the contract in theory? I mean, Duotone, big company, boards and more. It'll all be in your contract. So for that 12 months or that whatever pictures are taken, the rights are then owned by Duotone if it's on a photo shoot or something, and they can use them until they see fit. Or again, I'm not a lawyer or anything, but it's all pretty much in a contract. So you won't be able to, but will they want to use him? Probably not. You know what I mean? It'd probably cause more problems. They've got, don't forget, they've still got Victor Fernandez. It's not like, they're getting rid of Mark and they've got no one else. They've got a lot of young guys coming up. They've also still got Victor on contract till the end of next year, I think I heard. So yeah, they've still got Victor, and Victor's won how many, events, how many world titles? The guy didn't have a good year this year, but bet your bottom dollar next year he is going to be pumped. He is going to be firing. And also this time of year, you can usually tell the social media of some of these riders pick up. Usually in December, when the contracts start to get renewed, or when you hear these rumors, everyone's posting more shit than they've posted ever before in their life. It's like, I am so active.
Just bring a post up every 2 seconds. No, it's Maddie Clare says something that's that hopefully never happens, but they're probably going to start calling wing foiling windsurfing and rename windsurfing as sup sailing. Oh my God, mate. Let's not.
I have a question, and I haven't got anything that just comes to my head right now. What the hell happened at Wedge Island? Was it a windsurfer that got hit by a shark?
Oh yeah, Wedge Island.
Did you see that?
Well, yeah. So for anyone who is not aware, there was a shark attack on what the media first reported was a windsurfer, then a wind foiler. And then I was under the impression now it's a wing foiler. So
that was my guess. When I saw it, I was thinking it surely means wing. I would have thought it was a wing foiler. And I was okay.
Yeah. And actually, it's interesting discussion quickly as well, because this is not the first time that a shark has attacked a foiler or a wing foiler. And probably not the only one, but I do have a theory that those foils under the water look like some kind of fish slash stingray slash whatever the fish thinks it is.
Yeah.
and because, yeah, so I think that's what's happened, isn't it? There's foils going through the water. Shark looks up. Oh,
well,
what's this?
I can't remember who's the guy we had who got hit by the whale.
Yeah, I've forgotten his name, but yeah.
Apologies if you're watching, but he's a wing force, so he's probably not watching. But he got hit by a whale. And I remember asking him, do you think that it had anything to do with the foil in the water? He was like, nah.
Yeah, but the whales, I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong.
Such a coincidence, does it not?
Yeah, but whales would jump all over the place. I think that was just being a bit unlucky in that particular one. But yeah, the foils, something else to think about with them, and another reason to stick to fin.
Yes. Also, we got to talk about this. No, we got to talk about this. We're not going to go down the foiling route. This I'm not going there. I promised I wouldn't. Obviously, a lot of people mentioning it. We're going to talk about it as well. Obviously, Marino Gil leaving Goya had his best year on Goya. Finished second in Pozo. You know, really come of age this year. He's been with Goya. What's his stats there? What's that? And it comes to the end of the show. After 8 years on Goya, it's time to separate our paths, and at the end of 2023, it's time for a new adventure with different feelings. I want to say big thanks to Marcelo Brown for hooking me up with the team when I was 13 years old. Thanks to Lalo Francisco for giving me the opportunity of being a professional athlete in the sport. I'd love to help me out during the events to reach the point where I'm now. Thanks to Keith for always helping me out designing my boards and helping me get best tuned. I want to say thanks to all the family at Goya, everyone that has been helping me where it's possible. Now it's time for new adventure with a new brand. Let's see what the new chapter brings as we find ourselves in the next year. So that's interesting, isn't it? Because this isn't we've got rid of him. That is, I've had another offer. I have considered it and I have decided to move on. So that's interesting. I'm pretty sure I know the brand. I've been hearing the rumors since Pozo.
Ooh, tell us, Benny, tell us.
So can I tell you? I mean,
you can tell just me.
Okay, I won't officially tell you, but if you mention it in the comments, you might be able to tell by my face. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you will be able to tell.
We're going to play that game where we have to guess by your sort of movements.
Well, I don't want to say. I don't know if you're meant to. I don't know how these podcasts work. Sometimes when you've got inside information.
There are no rules on this podcast, Benny. We all want to know now. Where is he going? Ooh, JP boards.
No comment.
Yet to be announced, is it? I mean, Marino Gil is very much a future star. I mean, he's a star already, but he's the new generation too, right?
Yeah, I tell you what was interesting. Obviously, we did the amazing coverage of the Aloha Classic, and one thing I noticed from this amazing coverage from Tom, which was good, no joke, is Marino Gil is progression through the competition. This was really impressive. Starboard tack, never really been to Maui much. I mean, he was pulling off maneuvers and his level, you could see just increasing from being there. So he is definitely one to watch. I won't say I've writ him off, but actually I will. I did write him off. For the Aloha Classic, I was like, he got no chance. He's going to get smashed. But he didn't get smashed, and he actually won some decent heats. So I have to apologize because he improved way more than I thought in the short time he was there, and he caused some problems for a lot of people. A lot of people singing his praises, from what I saw.
Yeah. So he came 9th, didn't he? From memory, was that what he came in the Aloha? I think he ended up coming 9th.
I can't remember. That seems very hard. But if he did, that's really impressive. Did he come 9th? That's even better than I thought. Wow.
I'm going to have to double check that now. We've got some comments here. Gil to Duotone. Is that what's happening, Benny? It's going to Duotone?
No, that's not happening.
Oh, okay. So what are we waiting for the right answer and then you're going to tell us, or you're just not going to tell us?
I told you he did finish 9th in Maui. Oh no.
Oh, I did. No.
15th, I was going to say.
Oh, was it 15th, was it? For some reason I had 9th in my head. Okay. But yeah, so what's happening with Gil, Benny? Or
I gave you the signal. You know, if you didn't see it, you missed it.
Oh, I missed it. I can't say I've got the little screen at the moment. So we've got here wing foil a bit more sharp.
Look at your screen.
Okay, I'm looking at my screen. Yeah,
so
what's
there we go.
that?
We can say it then. If there was a JP Neil Pride photos of him using it, I mean, that's the rumor I heard. So if there's photos, I think it's fair game. If there's no photos, I wouldn't say anything. But if Lucas Meldrum said there's photos, I'm in. That's what I heard. That's the rumors I've been hearing.
Pride JP?
Yeah.
Damn.
They were hunting him.
Wow, okay. He's the new JP.
Well, we don't know. That's just a rumor. Just saying. If there's photos, Lucas says there's photos. That is probably pretty undeniable evidence. But he could be just testing it out. Like I said to you, if you're going to switch brands, you've got to test it out.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Lucas. Thanks for that, mate. And I mean, we have heard there's going to be quite a few changes this year, though, isn't there, Benny?
Hang on. Just before you carry on this, I just saw this in the comments, and that is a hell of a link. It says wing foiler bitten by shark at Wedge Island fell into its mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he sort of, yeah.
Wow.
He fell off the board into it. I mean, I don't think it was a massive shark. You know, you have this idea it's like Jaws, but it did bite him on the ankle. I think it's, yeah. He obviously
biting on the ankle. So that doesn't sound as bad as it could have been, because usually you wouldn't expect a shark to bite your ankle. You'd expect him to bite your foot off.
Yeah, I think it was like a bronze whaler type shark or something like that.
Okay.
But I mean, you don't want to be attacked by a shark full stop, but you know, better than a 5 meter great white, obviously. Yeah. But yeah, no, the foil, something else to think about with that.
So I wonder what else we're going to be hearing. I mean, like I said, I don't think it's over from people changing sponsors, whether they're dropped, whether they find new sponsors, whether there's just a bit of a change around, whether people have just changed gear because they prefer gear. Like, I think this is an interesting time of year. Yes, it can be hard, like if you're not expecting it, but that is life. You know, sometimes people lose jobs. Like I know, and I said it last podcast. I know we're going to lose brands supporting Windsurfing TV this year. I just know that's going to happen. We're going to lose beer money. And a massive thanks, I have to say, there is people that messaged me said, we've doubled our beer money. And I'll be right. I'm going to reply some emails. Apologies. I've had Christmas off. So massive thanks to everyone who's chipped in some beer money since the podcast. Does help massively. Like, as I said, it's the nature of the industry, of any industry you're in, not just windsurfing. You know, I read the kiters have got films coming out at the moment saying they're underpaid, they're not getting what they want. And, you know, it's going to happen in mountain biking, it's happening in surfing, it's happening everywhere. We're not like isolated. It's not like windsurfing's dying and it's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere.
What about the windsurfing brands themselves? Do you think that we will see less windsurf brands over the next year or two, or do you think they'll just maintain? I mean, if you had to take a guess, I know it's a sad topic to talk about, but I mean, there are quite a lot of brands too.
I think, and again, this is just my take. These are not like the facts. These are just my takes on some of this stuff, and some of it will be wrong, but it's just my thought process on it. And I think I maybe covered it in other podcasts, but I feel like the bigger brands are under more pressure. They're less able to move. They've got lots more outgoing. They've got lots more staff. So bigger changes affect the bigger brands more. I'm sure they're going to be fine, but I'm saying the smaller brands, I think in windsurfing, are kind of run by passionate windsurfers usually. And I think those guys can adapt. You know, let's say they can take a pay cut themselves because it's maybe their own business. They can downsize it. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I've got it wrong. But yeah, I think I don't think we're going to see too much at the moment. I think it wouldn't surprise me. I think it depends if you've still got the passion. You see it in windsurfing shops. You know, some of the new windsurfing shops have got way more excitement because they're new to the game. They're new this, and then the older ones have kind of had a long time in the game. They've made a lot of money, and now they're making less money. And now they're a bit jaded, and you know they lose the energy. And it's like anything. When you get a new editor of a magazine, when you get a new whatever, the first bit of energy is so. Yeah, we'll see. I think it depends whatever other stuff are going on as well. You know, we saw Patrice Belbioc. He sold Exocet more recently, I think.
Oh, right, okay.
Again, you know, Nash sold Nash to the Pro Limit people, and Nash is an interesting one. Like I said, they've sacked off all advertising with Windsurfing TV for any, you know, not advertising, but they don't support the channel. And she seems in her emails quite so. Again, watch that space. Are they going to have new riders? From my sort of dealings with them, I would say not. Again, but then I saw a little something on social media that they're into the TWS Centre in Tenerife. So they may be changing where they put in their money or how they're trying to do their marketing or something. So I'm looking forward, but a bit worried for a few guys coming into the new year and seeing where, you know, sponsorships are going to go and what's going to happen. But at the same time, I'm excited from the year because there's lots of new stories, lots of new people trying to prove themselves. You know, I think it's going to be good. It'll be interesting.
Yeah. And actually, that's probably a good segue to mention that talking about brands and brands that have been around for a while, smaller brands, whatever, I messaged Dave Ezzy, and he's keen to join us for a future podcast.
Okay.
So I think that'll be cool to pick his brains because he has been around since day one.
Yeah.
And he obviously runs a brand, and I'm really curious what he has to say about the current state of the industry. So
yeah, it'd be super
look
interesting.
forward to that. I really look forward to that one, actually. That's going to be super cool.
And I should say, we have got lots of things in the pipeline which we haven't done, and we owe apologies to a few people who we've said we were going to bring on the podcast. So Henry is one of them, I think.
Yeah, I know. Poor Henry. The guy who crossed the English Channel. If you're listening, Henry, apologies, mate. We'll get there.
So we have got a few things. And also, Paul is going down to the Windsurfer Worlds in Perth, and we're going to try and bring you some sort of coverage. Might not be racing coverage per se, but just interesting what's going on the beach to see what's, you know, what the whole setup is like. And we're going to try and bring something. It'll be like a podcast format. We did a few experiments where we can kind of do it, I think, to a level where it will be interesting for you guys. So I'll be kind of running the show from here, and Paul will be on a roaming camera, just going around doing some interviews. If you're keen for that sort of stuff, chuck us a like. And I think that'll do us for this week. We're going to be under an hour.
Yeah, cool. Excellent, mate. But no, I really look forward to getting to the Windsurfer Worlds. Hopefully you guys will tune in because there's going to be 300 competitors, more than they had in 1984 when the last time they had the World Championships in Perth. So that's a really bright sign for windsurfing and involvement. And people are apparently having a really good time down there. They're putting a big effort on the social aspect. So it sounds like a lot of fun. So I'm going to attempt to do a live stream with Ben. Full disclosure, by the way, I think this is important. I'm going to try and be open here, but I wanted to go down there myself just to have a look and maybe make some behind the scene video and do a thing with Ben. And I had a few messages back and forth with one of the organizers there who knew of me through this podcast and the videos. And they've actually offered me in exchange for video work and going down and helping out with the media side of things, one of the setups from the event. One of the windsurfer boards and the sails. And I'm absolutely stoked because I wanted to buy one secondhand anyway. So then I'll bring that back to Geraldton, and that's just another tool I can use to make videos with and obviously sail around and maybe even try and start up a Windsurfer LT club in Geraldton, right on the front beach.
You're an influencer now, mate.
Well, yeah, I guess I am to a point, but the reason I'm going to mention that is to show goodwill to the organizers because it's super cool. They didn't have to do that. I would have gone down anyway. The fact that they offered it really shows that their heart's in the right place. They didn't ask me to mention that or anything. So, props to them. It seems like a really good group of people that are behind all that. So, yeah. I'll look forward to being down there, and hopefully we get some funny videos.
Just so before we end, when we thinking of doing that? What roughly next week? It's next 2 days, isn't it? It's not far.
Yeah. So I'm in Geraldton. Perth's 400 kilometers away. For anybody who doesn't know, I'm driving down on New Year's Day on the 1st, and the event finishes on the 4th. So I'll be there for about 3 days, I guess, in total, or 2.5, 3 days. So we'll try and do the live stream on maybe the second last day or the last day. Maybe it might be cool when everyone's kind of rounded up and see their thoughts.
Yeah.
So it started today. So the racing started, and they've actually, the forecast is they've got a fair bit of wind, 20 knots plus for most days. So they'll be playing around.
Actually, before we go, let's maybe show you a few pictures. I saw this from, I think it's from Colin Leonard's channel, which is, he does a lot of helicopter work, or has done a lot of helicopter work. We did the windsurfing, Australian windsurfing movie or whatever it was back then, which Peter Volvo and stuff. But there's a few pictures. Can you see them?
Yeah. That's super cool. It's just, I just like the involvement. There's a lot of people into it. They've done a little custom graphic on the sail there. Like a
kangaroo, mate.
Yeah, but it kind of looks almost Aboriginal, or like it's pretty cool. They've used that sort of a graphic.
No foot straps.
There's no plugs on the board, which some people have complained about. But they've just done it just to keep it simple, I guess.
I would have liked a foot strap, to be fair.
I know. I
just to pick it up.
Yeah. Well, you could use a center board. You grab it there. But yeah.
Well, we'll look forward. I mean, obviously, now you're an influencer. We'll be seeing some videos about the. All right, let's go. We're going to round it up for the first time ever before an hour.
Cool.
Any last things? Happy New Year to everyone. I obviously had my New Year's party last night. We did an early one. We wanted to, get the cheap babysitter in. And so I'm already in the new year. So happy New Year, guys. It's sunny in the new year as well. And there's a bit of wind. So I'm already in. So good luck with everyone's New Year's celebrations.
Definitely. Now, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to everybody. Thanks for listening to our podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it and really look forward to 2024. I'm sure there'll be lots to talk about. And
And let us know in the comments what you want to see. I did get an email or a comment. I can never tell because I've got so many different platforms. But someone suggested we do like a quick weekly roundup of the windsurfing news. Don't go into depth in any detail. We just go through the key points that have happened in the windsurfing world in the week. That was kind of what we were meant to be doing with this podcast. So we might be doing that alongside a podcast. If you're into that, let us know. Happy New Year. Let's hope it's a bloody windy one and we can get everything back on track. Let's hope all the guys find some new sponsors and then they are raring to go for the season. Obviously, we are going to be bringing you more sponsorship news in the new year because more and more will be announced. I can bet my bottom dollar on it. It's coming. So interesting one. Have a good one. See you for the next podcast.
See you guys. Bye.
It's that time of the week again. Sit back, relax, we got the brain of band. No need to stress in the house, it's Van Bellen. The game is windsurfing, you can't yell them or tell them. We get the news, the views, the win biz. The brand's gear tips plus the world's best quiz. Cogs, PWA, we're professionals without the pay. There's nothing in pole dancing that we won't chat. From tandem boards to a windsurfing cat. It's your one-stop shop for a laugh and listen. Tune in each week or you'll be doing the missing.